Growing up in the early 80s, our interests were simple. You talk with your friends and walk around, then go home before the jeeps are gone. And if you're lucky enough, you grow up in a household where you shared space with not just your siblings, but also books. TV was a luxury few people can afford, which is why books have been a part of the most memorable events in my life. Some of the highlights of my almost 50 years on Earth can be classified into four words: love, loss, death, and isolation. And in each of these major events, I have a book that helped me celebrate and survive. It was the summer of 1985, and the entire family decided to stay put. We had nowhere to go, and our finances were perfect for this plan. One morning, we woke up to find our front door open, and one encyclopedia, the letter G, an empty tank of propane gas, and our TV set was missing. We would not have survived the months of April and May if not for the almost 2 boxes of books we kept in our bedroom. I remember a picture we took then, my siblings and I, smiling despite the recent loss of our only other source of entertainment, but happy nonetheless because the thieves did not get to the real treasure of our household, the books we've acquired over the years. Like any good love story, a good book invites you into its world. And even when the love is gone, you can visit it from time to time, where the memories bring warmth to your soul. Despite my mother's frequent admonition to put the book down and clean the house, she was not immune to the siren call of the romance novel, and by means of osmosis, neither was I. When I finished my first chapter of Body Strippers at the tender age of 12, it wasn't just my imagination that was awakened. My vocabulary also expanded. I learned of the corset and how it doesn't just hold the waist in, but also controls unheard of passions, and how the phrase unrequited love was actually the foreboding of eternal love. I heard the howling of the winter wind outside the castle and saw the ramparts of the keep valiantly try to protect its precious occupants. And though I'm ashamed to say that if I had met anyone back then, the first requirement would have been that he can ride with me to the sunset on the back of his steed. Decades and books and relationships hence, I found my reading list to also have expanded and changed over time. Romantic love turned to thoughts of family and committed relationships. It was around this time that I discovered the works of Filipino writers: N.V.M. Gonzalez and the Pandesal, Amador Daggio's heartbreaking story of a wedding dance which is not your own, Eli Rueda Gibbs' Kasal, each one beautiful and poignant in its own way. The most heartbreaking death that I've experienced in my life is my grandmother's passing almost 10 years ago. She was a very important part of my life. She took care of me growing up, and she spoiled me rotten. I will miss her every day. The most heartbreaking death that I've read about is the death of Garp's son, Walt, in The World According to Garp. I cried reading the book, whether it was because my prospects of employment were dismal, or I also grieved at the death of a fictional 5-year-old, I will never know. Either way, John Irving's masterpiece was cathartic and wonderful. It will be 4 years ago to the day when the whole world closed its doors. It was something no one expected. The streets were empty except for roadblocks that were straight out of a dystopian nightmare. No one could leave the house. We were all trapped. For me, my only means of escape was a visit to Westeros to get a glimpse of the elusive dragons, or the caves of Mount Pelion to train with Achilles, whom Patroclus loved. It was traveling during lockdown. These stories saved my sanity and saved my life. A book is a portal into the multiverse. It presents possibilities and allows you to transform who you are or celebrate who you've become. A book can be a friend or a teacher or the love of your life. When you read, you realize you don't mind the silence or the isolation. When you read, you walk out into the world. Let us all pray. Let's do our sign of faith and say the prayer to celebrate the joy of reading from strengthenprayer.com. O Lord, in the pages of books, we often find moments of sheer wonder and awe. As we read, may our hearts be open to the magic that lies within each story, sparking our imagination and inviting us into extraordinary realms. Help us to approach literature with childlike curiosity and a sense of wonder, rediscovering the joy of being transported to places unknown. May the book week be a sanctuary where the ordinary becomes extraordinary, where reality blends with imagination, and where the wonders of the written word fill our souls with delight. Amen.